What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 10. I am your host, Marcus, and in this episode, we are talking about making life enjoyable. Now, how do you go about doing that? It's a great question I think a lot of people have asked. Now, this particular question I've asked myself many times, even to this day. I feel like I still will ask this question, especially I'll have days where I'm off and I'll feel that, well, how can I make life a little bit more enjoyable for myself? And one thing that always seems to be the same, right? To always repeat the same pattern is the fact that life may not be enjoyable in the particular moment because obviously of a specific situation. I know right now we are dealing with a lot. So I think it's imperative for us to make changes that we can now with the control over the things that we have now. But how do you do that? How do you go about doing that? Is the ultimate question. And the biggest thing is to really look at your day. I've talked about, managing your energy. I've talked about all these different things about being in a bad relationship or being in a bad situation, right? These things you have control over. You can choose to be in them or not. And even though I say that, and a lot of people will be like, hey, Marcus, well, that's great, but I can't just up and leave. I understand, but you still have to take effort to change those things. This is the biggest thing. If you want to make life enjoyable, you cannot tolerate what is not allowing you to grow and enjoy and thrive in your life. We, again, tend to forget that our lives are essentially the human experience. And it's a short-lived amount of time, right? We don't know when our expiration date is. And so that being said, why live a life in misery? Why live a life in which you are not enjoying yourself, enjoying the moment? Yes, things come up in life, right? Like you may have kids or you may have some other responsibilities in your life that come up. But that being said, you should still not accept the circumstances if they are not suiting you. You can still make adjustments to where it will still suit you. Like in particular, if you have kids, right? You can still do these things. So being said, you just have to look for a way that it can be changed. Now, again, going back to managing your energy, you have to see where your energy is essentially being drained out of you. Maybe it's a job, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it is something off, right? Maybe it's a coworker, maybe there's a lot of different things that come into play, but what's important here is to understand what is taking away energy from yourself. And this is a big thing because a lot of times you may see people, even see particular people that are just draining and very negative, right? So you just avoid those people. Don't buy into the negativity, right? Now, they may be saying things that may be incorrect or whatever. Yes, at points, yes, you would step in, but ultimately just avoid them. You want to essentially conserve your energy for bigger and better things. If you get stuck on every time that someone is being negative about something, you're going to fall into that loop. And you'll be fighting a battle when you're losing energy and not essentially putting that energy into something that could actually benefit you as to something that is taking away energy to try to prove a point to a person that at the current level is not going to listen to you either way. Yes, you may feel a burden lift off your shoulders, and that does help in the temporary aspect of it, right? But ultimately you have to realize that you want to put yourself in a good environment. And if you're asking yourself, well, I'm just not enjoying life right now, what changes can you make? Right? Maybe you feel like you're not making enough money. Well, what changes can you make to allow it so you're making more money? What skills can you acquire that will make you money? The thing is we want that instant gratification. And I've talked about this before too, is you can't go for instant gratification. Yes, some things you can do, right? Like I'm not saying you should be strict 110% because you're only going to set yourself up for failure. That's a good way to do that. But ultimately, you want to build a goal to where your environment is so essentially prosperous and allowing you to grow so much that you are happy. You want to put yourself in that environment. It's going to take steps. It's going to take a long duration, a plan. And I'm not saying you have to have everything in place. Being in this entrepreneurial realm, you have to realize that nothing is going to go according to plan. This is why I talk about you need to have that destination in mind. Don't worry about the path. Don't worry about the duration. Just execute till you get to the destination, because nothing is going to be clear, black and white. There's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of different things you have to understand, figure out, and essentially adapt to your life that will put you in that environment in which you can grow and prosper and end up enjoying your life. So first things being said, if it is your job, find a different job. What other skill can you acquire? And I'm not just talking about to essentially get a particular skill in that job. Depending what that job is, maybe you need to look in a completely different field. What field would make you happy? Would a job even make you happy? Or should you be an entrepreneur? Entrepreneur realm is not easy. But being said, what other things can you adopt in your life that will improve your life? Maybe it's meditation, doing more meditation. That will help your brain, allow you to control yourself to make the ultimate decisions to be able to change your life. And that's, things that I teach, especially on my YouTube channel, is that I teach people to understand that they are the awareness. They are not the thoughts, the feelings, the experiences that you've lived through, but you are the awareness of these things. And once you understand that, you can make the changes. You don't grasp onto past events or future events. You just go and execute on things because you are the awareness. And when you start doing this, you have more control over your situation. And that's where ultimate control is how we react to life. Are you going to tolerate life, understanding that life is short? Right? I think we get that check in life. I've had that check in life a couple of different times where, you get perspective and realize that your time is clicking every moment of every day. So if you are not enjoying your life, you need to make the change. Sometimes it requires bigger leaps than you might think, and it may be scary, but you have to be comfortable with uncertainty, because uncertainty will provide you great experiences that you've always dreamt of. But if you don't take leaps, if you don't take risks, you're never going to get there. You're going to be stuck in a place where you are just living and you're not enjoying life. And that's probably the position you're in right now. And why this particular topic relates to a lot of people, because I have been there. I was there when I was working in the factory, cutting cardboard. I wasn't enjoying life, but what did I do? I made a change. I didn't know where I was going to go. College was going to take too long. I wasn't particularly set up. I could have stayed at my father's longer. I could have went to college. That was an option, but I wanted it. I wanted something that was a little more short term that would offer me something better. And so I went in the military. Is that ideal for everybody? Probably not. But for me, I don't think I really had a choice. Where I wanted to be at, to gain more leverage, I had to do something different. I had to do the military. That gave me so much more leverage. That got me off on my feet, allowing me to do the things that I wanted to do, experience things, see the world, which is something else I wanted to do. And this is why going with the uncertainty, right? This is during a time of war. There was a lot of uncertainty, and initially I didn't want to do it. But I knew that there was a lot of opportunity if I just essentially sucked it up and just went with it. And so ultimately, to make and enjoy your life, you have to set up the environment that you want. That means you don't tolerate those things that aren't essentially benefiting you. And this is what I talk about, being selfish. You have to be selfish. You can give to others. So you have a solid foundation to help others. If you don't have a solid foundation, you can continue to give, but you're draining yourself. Eventually you will fold. You will wonder where you're at, and then you won't have any more to give. Why not level yourself up to a point to where you're happy and prosperous, and then you can pick up so much more people, help so much more people, pull them up, get them out of their ruts. But first, you have to get yourself out of your rut and make your environment enjoyable. You should be enjoying your life, right? You should be waking up in the morning, being like, oh man, it's another day. I can't wait to just get through the day and go to bed. If you're asking yourself that there's a lot of auditing you need to be doing. Build skills, right? Slow is fast. Because if you can go slow, if you can be patient, continually executing on stuff, knowing that you're not going to get that instant gratification, but it will pan out in the future. And build towards that destination. Don't get caught up in the results, because results take time. An oak tree will take time, but when it's big and it's strong. It can provide shade. It can provide all these other different things. So to be the oak, you got to allow yourself to do that. You got to allow yourself to give it time and water it and treat it every single day, executing every single day. Because the experience is too short. That's something that I've relayed to myself over and over, especially again recently. And in doing so and in knowing so, I've made changes. I am making more changes in my life because I realize that the human experience is once. Take action that you wouldn't normally take. Say things that you wouldn't normally do. It's better to leave it on the table as opposed to guess and wondering. You can be in a position in life where it's just miserable. And you think that's the way life is going to be. It will be that way if you don't take any actions or say the things that you want to say. Now, I'm not saying going out and starting fights or doing anything like that, right? And just quitting your job without some kind of plan. You should have some kind of idea of what you're going to do to get there. I do agree you need to do some kind of planning, but you shouldn't be stuck on the planning. That's where a lot of people get stuck. Even many times I've gotten stuck, and I allow that to help me procrastinate. Then I get to a point where when I realize that I'm starting to procrastinate, I just start executing on it. Even if whatever I'm doing isn't the greatest, and maybe I don't have the best ideas at the current moment, I know it's never going to be the right time. It will never be the right time. There was never a right time. If you're waiting for that right time, again, you're projecting into the future that once I get to this point, then I'll be okay to make a leap, make a change, when in fact, it's not going to be. That time will never come. And if you wait for that, it's more time you're taking away from your human experience. Now, I do believe in living in the moment, right? And being happy, you can change that. You can be happy right now. Now, just as a thought experiment, right? If you won $1 million today, what would you do? See how quick your mind will change. This is the idea, because you get that dopamine hit, right? Live your life in that manner. Live your life to where you won't accept things that aren't helping you grow. Maybe it's the people you hang out with. Maybe you can't find other people that will allow you to grow. The nice thing is nowadays we have the internet, and being confined, right? You can find groups that are like-minded. Find something you are interested in. If you want to open a business, get in a group with entrepreneurs. If you want to get in and have better health, get in a group of people that like to go running or like to work out. Put yourselves in those groups, immerse yourself in those groups. You start enjoying life because you're around like-minded people, right? We need to find the groups that interest us and be around those people. Because if you're in a group or in a particular situation in which you're not enjoying life, it is only your fault, right? You have to be able to make the change. I'm not blaming you. I don't want you to play the victim card. Oh, wait, Marcus, you're blaming me that it's all my fault. It is your fault for the situation you're in, because you are tolerating what life is giving to you. And this is something I talk about. Don't tolerate it, right? Life is short. Make changes. If you're single, that's even better, right? If you have no responsibilities and you're single, don't do what your mother and father wants you to do. Do what you want to do. I'm not telling you to go do something crazy, right? Think about what you want to do, what makes you happy, and go do it. Nothing should be holding you back. And if it is, you need to remove it from your life. Well, Marcus, what about money? What about this? What about that? Nowadays, there are so many different things. And I've been talking about stuff over the past weeks about online business and books and courses and all kinds of stuff like that, right? You have the ability to work from wherever you want. But I'm comfortable in my environment. But you're not that comfortable if you're not enjoying life. I'm not saying you have to go out and travel everywhere, but maybe you should look at some other place that might have interest you. Maybe, go drive there if you can, right? And check out the place. Maybe you think, oh, well, this town in the next state over, I've really thought about moving there, but, that's just crazy talk. Why would I even think about doing that? Well, long weekend, just drive over there, check it out. Maybe you like it. Maybe that's the change you need in your life. That small change, right? Sometimes it just takes small changes. It doesn't need to be that big of a change to move over to the next state. It could be a lot of small changes, removing stuff from your life, changing your job, learning a new skill. Now, I know that a lot of this can seem daunting, especially if you're coming from a bad place and all you can think about is, I just want to work, come home, and watch TV. Right, that's the biggest thing, right? You get stuck in this trance and you wonder where you are, right? One day you kind of notice that, man, I'm not where I want to be. How old am I again? This isn't where I want to be anymore. It doesn't matter how old you are, just make the change. Don't be fearful. If you feel like you have too much, maybe you're in a big house, maybe you have a car payment, downsize. The problem is society paints this picture that you need to have the big house, the car, all these flashy things. But if you could downsize, you are essentially releasing those shackles of debt and allowing yourself to be more free. Because true wealth is in the freedom to be able to do what you want, when you want. Now, that's not saying go and burning down buildings and stuff like that, but living an enjoyable life. What do you like doing? Maybe you like fishing. What can you do to get to that point? Maybe start a YouTube channel about fishing. I'm sure you know a ton of it about fishing. Well, how could I create a business out of that? You can. Today you can. Maybe it's painting toy soldiers. Start a YouTube channel, start painting soldiers, write a blog, start a podcast. There are a lot of different things you can do. The thing is we are not exposed to these things, right? A lot of times we have to understand that society, the system, wants us to do specific things, right? There's that conveyor belt that wants us to go to college and do all these other things. Jump off the belt. Think for yourself, unplug. This is what I talk about. This is what I teach. Have a mindset to ignite the change that you want, to enjoy life. Now, that's not just going out and saying F everybody, right? And not walking around doing that. I'm not talking about doing that. I think you should respect everybody that comes into your life. Again, whether that's the janitor or the CEO of some high business, corporate business, it doesn't matter. You treat everybody the same. Everybody is at your level. And that's the way I've always treated people. We're at equal levels. You can always teach me something that I don't know anything about. I don't care what walk of life you come from. I know you have value and there's something you can teach me. And likewise, I know I have value and I could teach you something. So being said, you go through your life, you remove the bad things, and you need to start incorporating good things. Read more books. I think the average American reads like maybe one book a year. right? When I found out this, and I knew that this is essentially the way I lived a good portion of my adult life, when I started really getting into self-development and realizing this aspect that, the top level CEOs read like 40 to 60 books a year, I changed. And ever since whatever day that was, quite a few years ago now, but I started reading 40 to 60 books every year. And it's made a big difference. It's given me a lot of perspective. But the thing is knowledge is only so good until you put it into action. And even though you get that dopamine hit of reading all these great things and motivating you, you still need to take the action and make the changes. Get out of that comfort zone. Put yourself in there in the driver's seat and get to the destination. Don't waste your time on petty things. You have to, again, realize that you have an expiration date. I'd rather leave everything on the table and go out knowing that I lived a happy life. And I think that that in itself is worth more than anything. It's worth more than as much money, an infinity amount of money, right? Is the fact that you are living a life that you are enjoying. Can you make a lot of money on the way? Sure. Can you also be poor and be the happiest person in the world? Yes. People live that way every day. You should go overseas. I see it all the time. I see more happier people that have less than people that have more. It's just changing that mindset and realizing again that happiness is just a state of mind, and not allowing yourself to tolerate those things that are trying to pull you down. Because a lot of times, society and people get stuck in this negative feedback loop. And so they project things on how things should be. And if they're not that way, then shame on you. No, not shame on me. I'm not the one that's miserable because I don't tolerate it. And realize that people and relationships and all these things that happen in your life, everything is temporary. If you come at everything in life as being temporary and be grateful for those things that come into your life, then there'd be more things. There'd be more an abundance of things. You come at it with a scarcity mindset, everything is going to be negative, that people are taking away from you. When in fact, people typically aren't going to do that. Yes, there are some bad people out there, but if you're going to let, the other 8 people out there out of 10 that are good people, you're going to let those 2 bad apples wreck your day, wreck your life? Or you're just going to move on and realize, be aware, consciously aware that, these people aren't for me, and be okay with that. Just say goodbye. Friends, family, whatever the case is. I'm going to live life on my terms because I know I have an expiration date. So I'm going to be happy. Some people may not agree with that. That's perfectly okay. You don't have to be okay with that. But don't turn around and say that you're miserable and you hate X, Y, and Z because of X, Y, and Z. If you find yourself explaining why you can't, then you're not going to be happy. It's about the execution. It's about becoming okay with uncertainty. The more you can become good friends with uncertainty, in the fear, in realizing that what you should be fearful of is not living the life that you want to live. Having essentially this false environment in which you think, life is great, and because I am a secure spot. Nothing is secure. The 9-to-5 job is not secure. People are seeing that. Nothing is secure. Nothing is guaranteed. And this is where it's extremely important to build the confidence in yourself and believe in yourself. If you don't have that, you need to build that. You need to build it in yourself. That means going and fighting those old demons that you have that are holding you in the past and in the future about some projected moment in time in which things will be better. They won't get better if you don't do something today and each and every day to make that change. You have to remember everything that you do is a compounded effect that will eventually get you the results that you want, delayed gratification. But this is the way life is. If you are not enjoying life, you can make the change. You're never stuck. Sometimes you may have to take risk. Sometimes maybe you can't leave where you're at right now because maybe you're stuck with money. Maybe you're stuck with kids. There's a lot of different situations that can come in here, and you feel like you're stuck, and there's just no way out. There is. You just have to be okay with uncertainty. What do you ultimately need, right? Do we need all these material things to be happy? No. You've come into this world with everything you need. Yeah, you probably need some clothes, but but nonetheless, you can do it. You can be happy. You just have to not tolerate things anymore. And the older you get, the more you understand this. So if you are younger listening to this podcast, live your life that way. Enjoy your life to the fullest. I enjoyed my 20s. I didn't have kids when I was in my 20s. But being said, I'm more than happy and grateful for the kids I have. Because I wanted that experience. I chose that experience. You have to want to choose those things that you want in your life. If you don't want it, then get rid of it, as painful as it can seem. Maybe it's a friendship you've had for years, but yet you maybe not feel like you're eye to eye anymore. I've changed a lot. I've lost a lot of friends through the years because of the fact that I think we don't see quite eye to eye. And some people will never understand that. But it's not for me to sit here and explain it. If you're going to judge me on something I do and actions I take, then you don't need to be part of my life. I'm not judging you for any of the actions you take. I've always lived that way. I think if it makes you happy, do it. But you got to have that confidence in yourself that even though people may not agree with me, that's okay. Because at this point, I have an expiration. And if I'm living to serve somebody else's needs and opinions, then I'll never enjoy life. I'll live and I'll feel stuck. And I'll be miserable. And I'll be looking for outlets that continue to help me spiral out of control. Or I can take control of it and do what I need to do. Be okay with cutting out whatever I need to cut out. Once you get to that point, you become unstoppable. You just really start enjoying life because you don't accept the things that won't help you enjoy life. But with that being said, I think you need to do an audit of your life. Find those things that you don't like that are being negative in your life and remove them. Don't be afraid to remove them. They will be painful. Change is painful. But if you get past and work through the pain, there's so many different things that can get a lot better. So don't hold back. And that's how you enjoy life.